Special shout out to all my patrons.
Corn This is about to get real interesting.
Oh,
yeah. Lindsay's normal programming is not going to be happening today.
Yeah, okay. With what he said, the only
I'm sorry. I will always find that hilarious. Be called a racist, fascist, or a liar. Yeah, I'm always gonna laugh.
Every time I hear somebody like that, I get like this whole leftist nasal tone in my mind as like racist, fascist, liars.
No, we want to engage in conversation. Absolutely.
But hey, get in the box if you're going to fight against racists and fascists and liars, man.
Right. So, hey, I guess he's not talking about us, guys. It's good.
I mean, if he's
nope, because he won't get in the box.
Again, Trump is my daddy. Leave the kids alone. And the Civil War was not about slavery. Fight me.
Oh,
she's on. Oh boy. Trust me. I'm sitting back, basically.
All that shit I said is wrong. Perfect.
Unavailable Taco.
Hello.
What up, Taco?
Going on, Taco?
Yeah, just joining to. I heard you guys were talking, seeing if you wanted any like opposition in the box or not.
Yeah, we don't know. We want opposition. What is it you want to discuss?
We want the smoke.
We can talk about anything. I mean, I'd be interested to know what it was about Trump that you guys like, and what your reasons for supporting him in like the next, if he runs in the next election.
Because he hasn't done anything wrong. Prove it. Innocent until proven guilty. Hasn't even been charged. Just saying.
I never said he was guilty of anything. I just asked what you liked about him.
He was a good president. The one that y'all voted for sucks. He's screwing everything up. There's a fucking balloon flying over, and nobody knows what the fuck it's doing there. So yeah.
Sure, but what specific policies did Trump pass that you guys like a lot? Especially like if there's one that you know that I don't.
Stay in Mexico.
The stay in Mexico policy.
Yeah, I liked that policy a lot.
What did you like about it?
It did help. It
helped regulate the border.
Yeah, it did help curtail the amount of illegal immigrant encounters at the border at that point.
What did that policy do specifically?
I mean, Arctic, get up here in Arctic. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm just asking. So I can look it up.
Good, Taco. At least
okay.
Do
you not know the stay in Mexico policy? So when people would come over, it literally no, he undid that order, Shay. The stay in Mexico policy required people to stay in Mexico and be vetted and to go through their process there instead of coming straight through the border here.
Was it for regular immigration or asylum seekers?
Asylum seekers. Regular and for immigration would be done through different channels. This was to stop illegal immigration.
Okay, what was bad about asylum seekers coming over here to do the process?
Do you see the border?
The problem with asylum seekers coming across our border to do it after the fact was the fact that they violated the law before asking for asylem.
All right, you know what?
Wait, huh? That's not how asylum works.
No. If you look, here's the thing, right?
Before let Lindsay eat.
Not him. Just Mondi.
The problem.
So stay in Mexico. So when it was in place under Trump, did you see the problem at the border that we have now?
I mean, the Biden immigration, the send back numbers are about the same right now as they were.
Biden, no. But the crossover numbers are not the same. So again, the stay in Mexico order in place. Look at the border. Stay in Mexico order not in place anymore. Look at the border.
Wait.
Are you familiar with 8 USC 1325?
I'm not, but really quickly, I just wanted to mention that if the send back numbers are the same, how would the crossing numbers not be similar as well?
Because the crossing numbers have increased. We have broken records on how many people have crossed our border from 177 countries.
Do you have anywhere I can look at that? I just want to see them so that I'm informed.
I believe
Department of Homeland Security, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and also you can look it up through the Immigration Customs and Enforcement website as well. They track those numbers pretty consistently about encounters. They hold the statistics on that. And while you're looking that up, 8 USC 1325 governs what foreign entry by alien looks like and how it violates sovereign national law. And so, to answer your question about how asylum seekers would have violated the law crossing the border and then applying for asylum would mean that they would have to initially violate 8 USC 1325 before they go to asking for asylum, and that's just not helping them out at all. It places them in a situation where the country is like, should we prosecute them or should we give them asylum? Whereas if they had waited out of a port of entry and put in for their asylum request and then been granted and then moved across the border, there would be no conflicts of interest at that point in terms of the violation of the law.
And not only that, but you could look at the drugs that are coming across the border. That's increased. Human trafficking has increased everything. So there's really nothing positive about what we're doing at the border right now.
Yeah, and not only that, not all asylum seekers will be granted
Oh, please tell
asylum
me you're
because
asking me here.
honestly, just because you apply for asylum saying that your country is in a bad way, I need asylum, doesn't mean that the United States is going to recognize that your country is in a bad way and you need asylum. That's why you go to the port of entry, make your claim, and then wait.
Or you can hit any U.S. embassy in any country and do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mexico City has an embassy that they could definitely utilize.
Wouldn't it? So
Well
just
before
really
they get
quickly,
to our
because I pulled up the information, and it looks like we're not only sending back more people, but we're apprehending and keeping more people. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Doesn't that mean that our border is stronger now if we're sending? Wait,
That's not true.
I just pulled it up.
Well, that's one thing, okay, but there's also instances, yeah, even at the rate of occurrences and encounters that we have where we turn them back. What we also see here is that ICE does not have all the agents necessary to keep it from happening completely. Yeah, sure, we have thousands, maybe even not, if not millions, over the last year that we encountered and turned away. But what about the thousands, if not millions, that made it past all of that net?
I already did. I said the Department of Homeland Security, Lisa.
That's where I pulled it up, but I'm showing that we have more apprehensions now than we did previously.
Well, that's also because
we have more people coming in. We have it. I mean, the border encounters have gone up substantially. I think it's like 150% from the years prior.
Hey, Lindsay, they want you to cite your source.
I did. The Department of Homeland Security. I mean, you could look anywhere. Everybody's talking about this. Hold on.
And not only that, like I said, in addition to that source, the Immigration Customs and Enforcement website tracks these numbers as well. I mean, those are two legitimate.
Lisa,
sources.
you want up? I'll cycle for you.
Oh God, here we go.
I'm just looking at this. Border statistics. Is it now? Absolutely not. So if you're not gonna come up, then
Lisa, you're just driving your Ferrari in the bike lane, so you're just wasting everybody's time.
Driving your Ferrari.
You can find all the information.
That's Lindsay's. I won't lay claim to that. That's Lindsay's quote. So
you can find all of the information you want at the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol website.
That's what I'm looking
at. It's all there. Graphs, charts, everything you want.
And not only that and everything, Texas along our own border, we track our own border statistics as well. Just go on the texas.gov website and look up the rate of occurrences on the Texas website, and you'll find just about the same information, at least just specifically for Texas.
Yep.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
I'm just saying when I looked it up on the previous website, it told me something different. But let me check the Customs and Border, because obviously I want the correct information.
Yeah, Flash. I trust Abbott a lot more than I would trust Beto. So there's that.
Oh, Beto. Oh, Beto.
I mean, bro's like a 3-time loser, so no.
So which number? So we don't want the apprehension number or the return number. So what number would we want? Because I've got all the stats and summaries pulled up. Which one should I click on?
So if you look at it, right, just take a glance at it. Can you see the influx? Can you see how much just from November to December?
Well,
In 1
so
month,
the
it was
U.S.
at
the U.S.
10.2%.
Customs and Border Patrol website only goes up to 2020. They haven't calculated the 2021
does
data.
not.
I'm looking at it right now. Stats and summaries. It's only showing me 2020 and 2021. Like one number's 2021. The rest are all 2020.
That is travel statistics.
I went to newsroom stats and summaries.
And then what did you go to?
So then I went to media resources and then stats. And then it's a whole list of all of their current up-to-date stats. And it's only showing me up to 2020.
So on the main page, October, November, and December, right?
Hold on.
Last year, 717,000 people.
Where is that?
It's on their main page.
Yeah, where on the main page? I'm on their like home page right now.
Go to stats and summaries. And if you look at stats and summaries, when you pull up stats and summaries, when you pull up that page and you look at it and you go down, it says October, November, December, 717,000. It even breaks it down by who they are.
So I clicked on newsroom stats and summaries. I'm just looking for where, because it just gives me a list of other things to click on. So I'm just looking for the one that you clicked on. Is it nationwide encounters? Is that the one you looked at?
Southwest Land Border Encounters.
Okay, Southwest Land Border Encounters. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're encountering more people at the border than we were previously. 2020 makes sense that 2020 was low. Makes sense that 2021 was 2019. That's the one I'm going to want to look at. Because 2020 and 2021, it makes sense that those were a little bit lower because of COVID and everything. Just want to see if they have 2019's data available.
But halfway down the page, when it says October, November, December.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at that, and then scroll all the way to the right and look at the totals.
Yeah.
The grace.
There was 7 in October, November, and December. There was 717,660.
That's total.
Yeah.
717,660 in those months. In 3 months.
Okay. But if those are encounters, do we have numbers for like how many make it past? Because wouldn't the fact that we've encountered higher numbers mean we're catching more? Do you think the rate slowed?
Well, actually, that could be indicative of a few things. That could be indicative of like a higher influx of people that come to the border, and that the 700x amount, that we have actually apprehended and turned away. They're the ones that we caught. What we're talking about here is that the influx of these higher amounts of immigrants that are apprehended is within November and December, just as, so to speak, indicates a higher pressure at the border of people coming through. Now, of the 700 and some odd thousand that we have apprehended and turned away, yeah, true. Good job, ICE, apprehending them, turning them away. But the question remains, and there's no really good statistic on how many people actually get through. But if we look at the data, it's like saying the pressure at the border between November and December being at that rate, that means there's several hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that have gotten through in that time frame.
So for 2019, it was 126,000. Now it's 771,670 or whatever. So you understand that that's a huge amount.
Yeah, but that's
huge
people
change.
we're encountering and either letting in because they've got their legal paperwork, we're either sending them back or we're putting them into detention. I want to know if we have a number.
So just listen. Just listen what I'm saying. Okay. You had a policy that was called Stay in Mexico. Okay. And because of that policy, in 2019, we were at 126,000. Now we're at 771,000 without that in place.
Yeah.
You understand the problem?
No, I don't. I don't actually understand what the actual core issue is.
Okay. Here's the thing, right? What we're talking about is that the Stay in Mexico policy created like a so-called barrier. It's like
Right.
say, hey, it's not a physical one, but it created like a barrier, a logistical barrier at that point that decreased the influx of immigrants to the border and made it manageable. Now, what we have without that policy being in place, without that deterrent being in place, we now have 7 times the amount of people that are being encountered. Now, you see, if you're looking at the correlation between the Stay in Mexico policy creating that 100,000 X amount of people being encountered and taken care of versus now the 7 times the amount because the policy has disappeared, when you're looking at the correlating data, you see that the Stay in Mexico policy helped curtail immigration.
Well, I mean, I think you can. I think you can look at the data. Sure, I think you can look at the data.
Title 42 is still in place is because the Supreme Court is upholding it. The Democrats want to actually withdraw Title 42. So imagine how much worse it would be if Title 42 was dropped.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with our policy at the border to begin with. I think there's smarter ways to handle immigration. All I'm saying is if we don't have the number of how many people are in here illegally, we don't know how much better the country's doing. So like, hold on really quick. I just want to ask, like, what if the number, because I can't find, so if somebody has it, I'd love to see it. But what if the reason why the apprehensions were so low in 2020 and 2019 is because more people were getting in illegally, so less people were being apprehended? I would need to see those numbers to know that conclusion there.
Well, the problem with the whole, overall total illegal immigrant statistic in America is that it's approximate. We don't have a certain number about how many people are actually here illegally. That's one of the things that we can't really avail ourselves to specifically, because if you're here illegally, obviously you're going to be doing your best to be evading that whole statistic. But the overall like approximate statistic, I believe, was somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 million to 30 million people here illegally. I mean, like I'm quoting from my memory, so don't take my word for it.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere in that neighborhood. It could be plus or minus a few million on either side of the spectrum, but we don't have a valid, narrowed in statistic about how many people are actually here illegally.
Right. So Knight and Lynn, I think what Taco's trying to actually get across to you guys is that before there wasn't enough funding at the border to to collect the data points for these encounters, right? So whatever number was collected back in 18 and 19, 127,000, that's due to the amount of money that was actually funded towards the border. And that's not true. That's the number that we probably got due to the funding that we were getting versus now getting people to encounter and collect data.
In the year 2022, we had over 2.7 million border crossings. That's 8,000 a day. 8,000 a day. You have other states that are now having to call in the National Guard to help protect their borders.
Wait, in the year 2022, you said we had how many a day?
In the year 2022, we had 8,000 a day, 150,000 a month.
And over 2 million for the year. Average. That's just an average of the statistics saying 2.2 million divided by 365 plus or minus whatever is about 8,000 on average a day.
Yep. Show me another country where they have that issue.
Well, we have a much larger country, so I understand that. Well,
that's
wait.
Not true either.
Yes, it is. We have one of the largest countries in the world. like landmass wise. So they have a lot more space. They have like a lot more space to get over in Mexico than like other countries do, because we just have we have a very large southern border. I'm not discounting that. I'm just asking, like, do we know what the funding
We have
has
a very
been
large
here?
unprotected southern border.
Well, personally, I
You would have
don't
you
think
would
it
have
needs
to go
protecting, but that's
into
just
like the relevant like Department of Homeland Security funding. You would have to analyze the budget. Like I think that comes from the Congressional Budget Office at that point. If you're looking for the funding that the Department of Homeland Security allocated to ICE.
I pulled it up. I pulled it up right here. I'm looking to try to find it. U.S. Customs and Border projection. I'm just trying to see how much we spent this year.
Too much.
Wait, wouldn't we want to spend more at the border?
That funding, what again, this is what he's trying to get across, is like if you pay for more people to like ICE or Border Patrol or security.
I'm sorry,
Well, we actually have that money. It's in our defense budget, which is what it's supposed to be used for. But unfortunately, we're sending that to Ukraine right now.
Wait, but I'm showing here from the Customs and Border Protection that they are getting their budgeted money every year. They're even showing they even show every year what they spend it
So
on.
if you increase immigration, then you have to increase funding, right? If you know that you have a big problem at one of your borders, then that means you need to increase funding to be able to deal with that. We're not doing that. So the money that we're sending over to Ukraine is out of our defense spending budget. That absolutely should be used for our defense, not theirs.
Although I do have a relevant question to ask here.
Right.
If we're talking about funding of the ICE Border Patrol agents at the border, how many Border Patrol agents are we talking about? Like what would be relevant per square mile of the border we're trying to protect? That's what I want to know.
I want to know why we're not actually talking about the real reason to why they want this influx.
The reason why we want to halt the influx?
I mean, the real reason behind to get rid of the reasoning and why they want so much immigration to come into this country. There are specific reasons, and one of the main reasons is due to the extremely decreasing birth rate, which then results in failed social networking systems like Social Security,
fix that.
which is
Look, here's the thing.
That's exactly why.
I mean, I don't know how much our birth rate hasn't even gone down by.
It's gone down significantly.
Since when? Like what year are you saying?
I know the black populations were decreasing.
Because before 2010 it was at 2.7. Now it's at 1.6. So it hasn't gone down like that much.
So you're aware we're talking about abortion, bro?
Are we talking about abortion now?
Well, that would be a population decrease, wouldn't it?
But we're out birthing more than we abort by like a lot.
The black community is still dropped. We went from 13% to I think what now 11.
The black community is out birthing their abortions as well. There's 500,000 black births a year and 200,000 black abortions a year. So we're over half out birthing our abortion rate.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, let's take that into consideration, of course. But the fact that there's 200,000 that are no longer here, that does impact the birth rate at that point. Even if we're outpacing it.
Sure, but is there an issue with letting immigrants take over for the decrease in birth rate? That's what we did. In the 30s.
As long as these immigrants respect the sovereign, immigration laws that we have. Again, USC 1325 covers them. You go to a port of entry. You enter into America legally. You come in here on a work visa, in which case we have a lot of work visa applicants that come in every year for those applicants. A lot of them are majorly approved. So when we're looking at like, hey, do we have with immigrants? No, we have absolutely no problems with immigrants as long as
they come in legally.
Correctly. All right, but the ones that come in here illegally, disrespecting our sovereign border laws, disrespecting our sovereignty, just period, end of story. That's something that can't be tolerated.
Do you think?
Can you do me a favor? Can you go look for the statistics? Can you look for the statistics or studies that was talking towards Gen X, millennials, and potential outlook for Gen Z birth rate? Because I know as a millennial, my birth my my chance or wanting to have a child is down. Gen X is probably like the last ones that was having a two baby household.
Well,
I mean, if we want to talk about birth rates, you can easily look up to where it shows that we've actually, up until 2018, so from 1989 to 2018, we had a negative birth rate.
can I propose to you what I think we should do immigration wise, and then you guys let me know like what flaws you might see in the system.
Sure.
So personally, I think we would actually do better if we had a fully open border. Now, let me before, because I know hold on, let me finish, because I know that that's a little bit of a drastic thing, but I think that we should be allowing people in.
I wasn't listening. Sorry.
I think we should be allowing people in if they can show that they have no criminal history in their country of origin, and then we let them in with they can come in with a non-citizen ID, so we give them an ID, a non-citizen social security number, so we know who they are, right? Now we don't have people coming in who we don't know. We then have them pay a slightly higher tax rate, maybe 1% to 2%, while they're here working under a non-citizen ID, so that way they're now contributing a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea. I don't need to hear anymore. That's a
all
horrible
yeah,
of
why?
Wait. I'm not trying to be a smart, but isn't that what an ITN number is though when they come in? Those that come in.
All of what he just said is already in place through the proper channels of immigration to where you.
No, that's what I'm saying. That like they get an ITN
through the proper channels, right? Not just open the border and give everybody the shit.
Well, opening the border would mean that these are the proper channels now. I think we should make it a lot easier for people to get in.
So just do away with the border so they're not breaking the law by coming in, is what you're saying.
No, I'm just saying it should be a lot easier for them to come in. So if they can, if they,
right, Taco, I need to ask you a question,
let's make it easier.
I don't know why.
I need to ask you a question about that though. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
With all of these predetermining factors that you stated, provided they don't have a criminal record in their country, et cetera, without relevant border security, how do we substantiate that? Without port of entry, how do we substantiate that?
Well, when I say open the borders, I don't mean remove everybody from the borders. I mean make it a little bit more like Ellis Island was, where they come in, they fill out. We have the technology now where we can communicate with Mexico.
Ellis Island had very strict standards.
Ma'am, can I finish? Just really quickly.
Like already in place though. Like you're just
I'm saying it. No, I think it needs to be a lot easier. I think what is the average time right now just to wait for asylum? It's like a year.
So it's easier for trafficking and drugs to come through like that. These are the things that we're dealing with down here. And
name me a country besides ours that does not have a secure border. I would just like to know. Name me a country besides ours that does not have a secure border.
From drug influence.
What do you wait? I don't know what you mean by that. By they don't have a secure border. What do you mean by that?
When you allow the opening of the border to make it easier for people, when you make it easier for people to walk through the border as you're implementing, that makes it easier for drug cartels and different traffickers of drugs and basically sex slaves and all this other thing. Texas is already the #1 child trafficking in the United States and competes in the world. So you want to make it easier for them to come through and do all that.
Yeah, so I do think that's a bit of a straw man, especially because California is the state with the highest.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's one of the primary reasons why we have the laws in place today, and it's still not. Where Texas is still the #1 in trafficking.
Wait, Texas is Texas is number 9. Mississippi is #1. Then Nevada, DC. No, you're number 9.
I don't care what you just Googled.
Mississippi has 6.32 per 100,000. Texas has 3.25 per 100,000.
Okay, and what .com did you look that up at?
This is World Population Review. They just generate
some
stats.
Bullshit site that has nothing to you can pull off of anything. Now go to the next site; it'll say something different. If you're not looking at the actual immigrations through the United States website, you're looking at bullshit.
Wait, I just looked on. Now I'm on deliverfund.org. It has the exact same numbers. They just swept Mississippi and Nevada. They flipped those. They said Mississippi actually has a little bit more. Texas is still number 9th. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing. What I'm saying is that, like, I think, when we're looking at like the actual numbers, it doesn't look like Texas is actually at the top. They're high. I'm not saying they're not high.
Well, you're right. Regardless of where Texas stands, and I'm a Texas citizen myself, the overall problem that we have coming across the southern border of Texas right now is a major fentanyl influx and child trafficking, etc. And there's various that things that we need to implement, in terms of stemming the influx into our country that needs to come into effect. Like, for instance, one thing that I actually mulled over myself about what could help, identify, child, sex trafficking and everything as a
Did
problem.
he?
When they come to the border, anybody who comes to the border with children has to do relevant maternity and paternity tests to establish that child belongs to the family unit. And if it comes back that they
So
do
you're
not, then at that point, that child gets separated from these two people, and we investigate them.
Yeah, my only thing would be like right now when people want to bring drugs or illegal things into the country, they're not going to go through the border at all most of the time, right? They're going to come in a way that's illegal so that we don't know who they are, we don't know how they got here. We have to now try to find them in a country as big as ours. That's tough.
Happened in Arizona.
But when I'm looking at a system that I want to implement, do you think, because right now we've seen this, I mean, I've watched documentaries on it where people will agree to be drug mules because it's their only way in and they find it too hard to get in otherwise. These people wouldn't agree to do that if they had an easy way in legally. If you could get in legally, why would you agree to go in through an illegal channel where you could get caught and arrested? If you could go in legally if you have no arrest record.
Or we could just close the border, fix the immigration system, and fine tune it and streamline it to make it a little bit easier for people to come through, but not illegally.
Wait, that's exactly what I proposed.
No, you said open the border. I said close it.
Well, wait. Closing the border wouldn't make immigration easier. It would make it harder.
No.
Well, it would affect it would.
Did you listen to
effectively-
her full statement?
Yes, I did.
What it would effectively do at this point is if we barricaded the border and created only a various amount of ports of entry along that border, what we do is we narrow the areas where immigration could take place. All right, that at that point it stops the influx.
No, it's not ridiculous rhetoric. You send the United States military down there.
It stops the hemorrhaging of all of these immigrants coming across the border illegally, and then at that point, at our ports of entry, we can be like, okay, you want to come into America? Let's vet you. Let's take care of the process. You want to be here for asylum? Sure. If you want to come here illegally and become a citizen, okay, we can facilitate that. But let's check you out first at these ports of entry, and then when we properly vet you, properly make sure that nothing is going wrong with what we are encountering here, you may enter our country. You get your ITN, you get your green card, et cetera, you're good.
That's literally what I proposed.
Wrong with, but the whole open border policy.
Well, when I say open, I just mean we should make it easy. I don't think we should be having long lines of people waiting a year to get into the country. That's all I mean by that. I think it should. I don't mean that they should just be able to walk in at any point in the border and just come into the country and live.
All right. So your open border policy is just like, oh, let's not remove any borders that we have or any ports of entry. It's just simplifying the immigration process.
Correct. I think as long as you don't have a criminal record, you should just be let in. And we at this point, technology is so good that we should be able to get that from Mexico within seconds, right? We should be able to have their criminal records sent over to us. If we can't, there's an issue somewhere else. But like
technology is so good, we should have an election result by the end of the night, not wait till.
Not to mention the fact it's not just from Mexico that they're coming from.
I believe we should be voting online at this point. I think it's secure enough that we should just.
That won't be a problem.
Yeah, no, I think there are plenty of ways where we could just vote. I mean, we do a lot of other stuff online, right? If I can bank online,
well, yeah,
why can't I vote online?
With blockchain technology
DC,
and
I want for you. DC is actually trying to do that, like for their local elections, where you can do it on your phone.
Utilizing blockchain technology.
And then the stipulation is that once the election takes place, all the data will be wiped out. That's the problem I have with it.
Yeah,
I don't know that I'd be okay with it. I mean,
to manipulate or get into and hack into.
But I don't know who was saying it. Like if we utilize the same type of technology as blockchain tech, it'd be pretty easy to see who's voting and see what they voted for, it would be pretty easy to see that stuff. So to check for any irregularities or like inconsistencies.
Dude, you can break into our U.S. mainframe. You think that it's going to be hard to break into something like that?
No, blockchain technology is definitely difficult to break.
Yeah, it's one of the most secure. It's why Bitcoin's as big as it is.
The biggest firewall that we had known on Earth is the U.S. military, and they get hacks and people
And
attack them on a daily basis.
what do you think they're adopting now?
Oh my god! The point is that it still happens, though. Like you guys,
Right, but what do you think they're
okay.
adopting now to avoid that?
Right, and I mean, like Tex is right in a way. He's like, nothing on this planet is unhackable. You know,
Like I work with cybersecurity on a daily basis. Like you guys are just oblivious to how it works. If there's
But
a route,
are you getting into
the
cloud
thing is, if you
computing?
can
Are you
introduce
getting into
you can introduce
blockchain?
any kind of technology you want to, there's going to be somebody that's smarter than the person that created it, and they will find a route around it. That's how it works. There's
it's basically
always
like
holes in the internet.
basically when it comes down to this, if you create smarter mousetraps, you create smarter mice. All right, it's just a matter of time before it happens. All right,
but right now we're in the stage
has
where we don't have
blockchain
the mice for the.
Yeah, I
but
don't.
has
yeah,
the
we don't-
blockchain been
absolutely
hacked
do.
yet?
Yeah, I've
know.
never seen that anyone's ever hacked a blockchain. I've never seen that anywhere. If it is, I would love to, because I'd love to know how the fuck they did it, and then let me do it, because Bitcoin's got a lot of money and I want that money.
Right.
I've never seen someone hack the blockchain before.
Shay said, "Be clear,
He's
guys.
sitting
They
here.
don't want people to be able to vote easily because they know they would lose."
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay.
We're
Yeah,
at the,
that's
at the
totally
point where we're
what
sitting
it's
here,
for.
literally admitting that we would hack in and steal
Did I
things.
say that? Did I
Okay.
say this to your rebuttal, Shay?
Thanks
Just
for
admit,
proving my point.
Y'all physically want to take our guns if you could.
Wait, what point did we prove?
You literally just sat here and said, "I wish I knew so I could do it."
Yeah, if it was possible and I wouldn't get caught, I'd probably steal some Bitcoin.
The likelihood
Not
that you
y'all,
wouldn't
Shay,
get
the
caught
government.
is astronomically low, honestly.
Well,
Though.
100%. I think for
about that.
Bitcoin especially, because they can just check the blockchain. They just see where the money went, and then you're gone.
Yeah, because unfortunately,
No,
right
a
now with
pandemic
blockchain
happened in
technology,
2020,
whenever you
Shay.
access somewhere, you leave a footprint. You definitely, like right now,
Unless
it's
you
hard for
reroute
you
that
to
footprint
if
to
you hack.
50 different locations at the same time simultaneously, because you can
It
absolutely
still goes
do
to a
that.
wallet. It still all goes to a wallet.
I
footprint.
understand that, but you can manipulate the system to make it appear as if it's coming from 50 different locations all at the same time, and then not at your actual location. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and you
guys
can
don't
also chain
understand the
proxies.
cyberkinetics between this.
Can
You
we
can
talk
also
I mean,
chain
I
your
get it. I
about
have
proxy
a big
something I'm
picture
actually
too.
going to yell about?
I mean, I personally, I just think we should do away with the Electoral College in general. I think it's just kind of an outdated
course you
system.
do. Of course you do.
Well, why? Wait,
Well, if
why
we
shouldn't?
got rid of the electoral college, that would be a problem because the places with the highest density of population would be determining the overall fate of America.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's where the people are.
New York and Texas, because California, New York, and Texas would decide the election every time. So.
Well, yeah, but I think that the people should decide the elect. I think if the more people vote, then yeah, that's democracy, right? I want a true democracy. We don't have that right now.
For someone vote.
Back to what Knight said, though.
Say that again.
No,
You were
I
breaking up.
mean, think about it though. Okay, you like say for instance, okay, you know, we go to just a popular. Right. We have people in America where like you know leftist ideology is mostly you know an indoctrinated system, I should say, and that's just my opinion about it. Don't say it as an absolute fact. All right, but say for instance we take California, which is just basically a 100%, almost 100% leftist state, right? What we have here is multiple hundreds of millions, you know, of votes coming in for that one type of thing, right? But then you have people all over America that are like, well, we don't agree with this system, but we have one state that basically could govern like maybe 45 to 50% of the popular vote at that point, and then we have a whole bunch of other people in the United States whose voices need to be heard at this point, which is why the Electoral College exists.
Well, wait, think about it this way. Like I live in New York, right? New York is mostly red, save for the city. Almost every other county in New York votes red. If you live in New York, your vote does not matter. It doesn't matter what you vote. The state is always going to vote opposite you. And I think that's kind of wrong. I think that that everybody's vote, one vote per person, and that vote should count. Right now, it doesn't.
Cities are taking up the most space for those.
Okay, but you kind of proved my point with that, though. Okay, we have one city, New York City, that basically governs the entire fate of New York.
That's
right
because of the Electoral College.
Well, no, it's not. It's not because of the Electoral College. What you see here is if you were to just relegate it to a population-based system, the population of New York would still govern the entire fate of New York.
No, I don't think it should be votes per. I think when it comes to like the presidential vote, one person, my vote in New York should count the exact same as somebody's vote in Alabama. Like, we should both make one vote. That vote goes to our person, and then the person who has the most votes from the most people, because it's the people that you're governing. You're not governing landmass. You're governing people. So the most amount of people should dictate. And sometimes, well, go ahead.
We understand what you're saying, but you're not understanding what we're saying. What we're saying is that, and I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize, but I guess somebody else has to say it, because we understand fully what you're saying. But you're not understanding that we're not wanting one particular city in an entire state to dictate the outcome of that state's results, because that's exactly what New York City would do.
Wait, that's what's happening now.
State, but yet we have people.
Sorry, Nate. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's not.
I genuinely am so sorry to interrupt you. That is exactly what. If you vote,
okay, if that's the case, why does New York vote Democrat every single year?
Because it doesn't matter what any of the others.
Exactly. So even under the Electoral College, it's still stupid.
No, but Nate, what I'm saying is right now.
Do away with
it. Hold on, Nate. What I'm saying is right now. Right now, if you live in a state that's mostly blue and you vote red, your vote doesn't matter. Your vote means nothing because the state is always going to vote blue. But if we do away with the Electoral College, it doesn't matter what the state votes. It matters what the most amount of people vote. That's what I think we should have more. Should be more important.
I said your means nothing anyway.
Right. But what you're saying though is condemn one particular area, so the rest of New York, as you indicated, is red. So their way of life is altered by somebody that doesn't even live near them.
No, I can't say that this could be a relevant fix to the whole electoral system, right? And this is like something that I mulled over in my head, right? Instead of having the Electoral College where you have, hundreds of votes, and it's operating on a graph, blah blah blah, right? What we do is we take into account how each county and each state voted, and then we mark one for, Republican, one for independent, or one for Democrat at that point, right? And then the amount of counties in that state that, majority voted for one type of factor is the one that gets the vote. So every state would just be equal to one vote. And at the end of the time, at that point,
I was going to ask
Knight. At
the
end of the time,
sorry. There's a lag, so I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
It's all right. So basically, we average the amount of counties in that state and see which one of them got the majority vote. Right. So if you have 49 counties in your state, or you have 50 counties in your state, and 26 of them voted for Republican and 24 of them voted for Democrat, then your state will be marked one for Republican. Right. And then it does that in all 50 nifty United States, and whoever gets the most votes at that point wins.
How would you feel, Knight? How would you feel about like ranked choice voting? Because that seems kind of similar to what you're saying, just a little different. How would you feel about that?
Even worse.
What is that?
Ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice.
Basically, what New York has done.
Me with that.
Alaska
you're going to
did it.
explain to me what that means.
The official of Alaska to prove it.
So ranked choice just means you, instead of voting for one person, you like put in who your first candidate would be, then your second, and then your third choice. So you vote in choices instead of just picking one choice. And then they use that's used more as a determinant because, some people might choose a better second option and that second option might get more votes, right? I don't know. I think ranked choice might work better in how you were, describing how you wanted your system to run.
I mean, if we didn't have a bipartisan system and everybody was voting on policy instead of party, maybe that might work. But I don't really truly agree with that.
Well, think of it this way. If somebody's got like a third,
they how like in Alaska.
Yeah, like a third party can sometimes split the vote and take votes away from both parties, like Republican and Democrat. If we did ranked choice, then like even if you vote for a third party, you would still choose the options of the other ones that you want, and those votes would still now count based on who receives them. I just feel like it might work a little bit, but maybe like you said, Alaska's done it. I don't know where anybody else has done it, but that's just a thought.
Not yet.
What are your thoughts on it, Lindsay?
So
Arizona's trying to move to it.
I still want to hear what Lindsay has to say. Lindsay hasn't eaten much, so.
Well, okay. While she's getting around to that,
oh, she's gone.
She's gone.
Honestly, I think about this whole entire rank choice system that you're talking about. What I think here is, in theory, I think and I mean, just strictly on paper, it sounds like a good idea, but I don't see it as being an effective system of voting. Honestly,
Well,
I mean,
again,
I have a few. Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah. Knight, just go look at what was demonstrated again in the state of Alaska. There were people who had a candidate for their party based on the policies that candidate was looking to propose, but their second choice was not Sarah Palin. So their first guy that they chose was a Republican, did not win that round. He didn't get enough votes to continue going forward. So their second vote, based on what they saw, what they were going for policy on their candidates, they looked at it, they reflected on Sarah Palin. They said, well, she's got nothing. So they wanted someone who had policy, and they said, well, I'm picking the Democrat. In some cases, some people also chose another Republican that had policies that were proposed. So their number one, number two were Republicans in some cases over Sarah Palin.
So basically, this whole entire system is like, if I can't have my first choice, then I'm okay with my second choice.
Yeah, you mark down your second and third choice so that we can tally
And
all of the
third
numbers.
choice. Right.
Yeah, you get 3 usually.
Yeah, the Electoral College is completely flawed, and a huge chunk of Americans vote means nothing in this country because of it. And I can give you an example. So I live in California, right? We have a population of 44 million. There's about 12 million Republicans. Not one of their votes matters when they vote for president, and their vote will never matter because there's just so many more Democrats in the state. So their vote means nothing when it comes to voting for a president. So that's what causes the separation of American people.
And not only that, when you look at the demographic map of voters in any election, just looking at the demographics, like, okay, these are red counties, these are blue counties, these are red states, or blue states, right? When you look at the overall amount of Democrat votes, you see them on the left, on the East Coast and the West Coast, and maybe sporadically in the center, and then everything you see in the center is basically a blood stain of red.
Well, yeah, that's just because more rural areas tend to be red, right? Like just literally when we look at like maps, people in rural areas tend to vote more red, and people in high dense urban areas tend to vote more blue.
Yeah, you look at the major cities in Texas now, because a lot of people are moving to major cities in the metropolitan areas. If you look even in Texas, you can see the change that's going on.
No, you can't, because the popular vote is still the same.
All right. I'm telling you, there's more.
I will have to side with PT on that one. I see it at work.
And here's the thing, right? You mean, like, when you look at Dallas, Houston, and Austin, those are the nerve centers,
major
Democrat votes.
Mm-hmm. And that's how
and now here's the thing, right? The entirety of Texas needs to basically, you see in their voting history that the entirety of Texas, aside from these 3 cities, has to band together in order to negate their vote.
And that's how they're going to turn. But that's how they're going to turn Texas blue, though.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's purple right now, because if they continue to do it, you watch. And here,
wait, even if we look at,
used to be red.
Seriously,
California used to be red.
I'm sorry, PT, but go to these metropolitan cities and see how much construction is being built. Is rapidly being built for that specific reason. I'm telling you.
Wasn't it Reagan's administration? Wasn't it Reagan's administration when California was red?
Yes. Yeah,
but I don't think Texas would turn blue, because even if we look at Texas right now, they're still vastly outpacing in terms of the popular vote. Their presidential decisions, their Senate decisions, and their governor decisions.
Yeah, but
It's going to turn blue.
Saying you said popular vote, but the popular vote when it comes to presidents doesn't matter right now because we have the electoral vote.
Yes, yeah, I think the popular vote should be what matters.
Right, I think
the thing
we should
about
go
the
based on
electoral
popular
college, though, is
vote.
when you break down the popular vote into the individual counties here in Texas, it still vastly outnumbers in regards to the number of people voting Republican versus Democrat.
We can see.
That's why it'll never go blue. I'm telling you, I've lived in California a long.
Look at the popular vote.
I'm 56, so I'm 56.
Look at the popular vote of the gubernatorial election that just happened.
Yeah, right. Abbott got more popular votes than O'Rourke did.
Destroyed O'Rourke by 2 million votes almost.
1 million.
It's not even close.
So you have to be able to look at the big picture and look at the direction that a lot of these places are going. Here, I'll give you another example. Oh, look at California is so expensive. Look at all those people exiting California. Where the hell do you think all those blue people from California are going and populating and changing the viewpoints in other parts of the country? It's not like all the Republicans are running out of California. I guarantee you it's not.
No. It's the same thing in Virginia here. Like, yes, I know Virginia voted red, but that's because parents had enough of what's going on in the schools, and those parents in Northern Virginia that are typically blue voters voted red.
So
Virginia is a blue state because Northern Virginia in the DC area is all Democrat.
My only issue, like I said, is I just want everyone's specific vote to actually matter, right? And I think we'll have a lot closer races than even we do now if we switch to popular, because there are a lot of people in New York, and I know because I've canvassed and I've spoken to them, who refuse to vote because the city decides for them. So they don't even vote. And these are people that would probably vote red. They won't even do it because they're like, what's the point? The city is making all of our decisions for us.
Right.
Now, if
you have to think about it. You're right, unavailable. Think about this. So let's say a president wins, but the majority of Americans, when they add it all up, didn't vote for that president. That is not what's best for the country. It just isn't.
And that's why
now the minority are now deciding what the majority want in our country. You got to think about that.
And that's why when we talk about the popular vote and everything, the whole idea I presented to you is basically a county majority vote. At that point, where you're taking the sentiment of every county in that state into effect, and then utilizing, the overall sentiment of every county as a way to determine what the overall sentiment of the state is.
That would still be a form of the Electoral College, just in a smaller way.
Well, right, but it also respects the overall sentiment of every single person in that entire state.
How would you do that? It would be a majority of counties get to pick the president, as opposed, or does the majority of counties then get the vote for the state? Is that how you're saying it?
I think
the majority of counties that vote a certain way get the vote for the state.
I worry how we would do like, and I can only speak for New York because that's the counties I know. I worry how would we separate that, because there are some counties that are nowhere near as large as other counties. So why are now the counties' votes not the same when like one county has way more people in it than another county?
And I would be concerned with gerrymandering at that point to manipulate that vote.
And then there's gerrymandering and stuff that affects with the Electoral College again.
I mean, if everybody just gets one vote because you're an American, then the majority of Americans get their president. Because you have to realize, I know people say, some states don't count. That's not how it works, because the president is not representing any states. You have to realize we are one country when it comes to the president. You can still vote for whoever you want as governor to govern your state, but the president is supposed to govern the country. Not every state needs to be right.
I will disagree with one thing. I don't know how we gerrymander a county border, because those are locked in stone, right? Like a polling border isn't. So I do think the county line would prevent gerrymandering. I just think we'd be in the same situation where like the bulk of people would, like, your vote wouldn't really matter because now everybody's. Sure,
You
but
can
it's a lot.
change
It's a
county
lot.
and
It's a
city line.
lot harder. A lot of things have to go
I
into
mean,
place to change a
they've done
county
it here
line.
where I live a couple times where they've, you know,
I guess
they've
that's true.
changed the city. Yeah, I mean, they
What do
have
you
done it.
Now,
I
What do
mean,
you guys
but
think about
what was the participation rate? How many people participated in the United States last year? Was it
in the
like around
election?
55? Yes.
Stern figure what? Biden got what? 80? Oh, you're talking the midterm.
Didn't they each
No,
get?
participation period. Participation period. How many people participated? Yeah, go with last year, and then go with the presidential race. How many people
Well, it'd be
participated?
easy to do
240
presidential.
million in the
Biden got what,
presidential election.
71,
I
and
worked the polls for this midterms, and for where the polls I was working at, they said it was a record turnout at 33%.
Oh, well, I
33%.
actually showed. I'm looking right here. It looks like there was 240 million people eligible to vote in 2020, and 158 million of them submitted
158,
ballots.
right.
So that's like 66%. That's the largest we've ever had,
That's
which is
the
pretty
Right.
nuts.
highest
Can you
ever.
imagine that last little 34% would just be if you told everyone, hey, we're doing away with the Electoral College. It's now
Exactly.
popular vote only. You can
I
get
think
that
more people would vote.
34%.
Hey, F-ball.
But
Yeah.
also that would also take away us being a constitutional republic too.
I
If
think
we
we'd
got
still
rid
be.
of the Electoral
I
I think we'd just be a direct
okay, wait, I
democracy.
wanna
I
know,
think
why
we
would you
could
say
still
that?
be a
Why do you think we would no
constitutional
longer
republic.
be a
Because
constitutional republic if we did away?
Because the idea of a constitutional republic, the little man still has a say.
They would have.
But
They would have
every
more
man
of a
has a
say.
You can still get things passed by the majority.
But what I'm saying is you're associating a state with the little man. When you say little man, every man, woman gets a vote, gets a say. So no one is being removed from that if the Electoral College is gone. Your vote would mean more if the Electoral College is, like I said, we have 12 million people in California. Their vote means nothing. Their vote would count towards picking a president if the Electoral College was gone. And so their vote means nothing. There's no way. The Republicans, right now, the way California is, no Republican president at this point will ever get those,
I have an unpopular opinion about voting too. I actually think that we should lower the voting age if you're working. So if you work and pay state and federal taxes, you should be able to vote. I think if you're paying,
that's too far.
no, I think
Right,
if you are paying federal and state tax, you should be able to determine where your taxes go. You should be able to make that decision.
Dependent. When you're not 18, you are a minor and a dependent
Wait,
of somebody else.
some 18-year-olds are still dependents and they still vote.
Well, but that's still different. When you're 18, you got to sign up for the draft, buddy. It's different.
Wait. I also think we should raise the military age. I think it should be 21.
That's
something we should do, right?
At this point, right? Okay, I need to say something about the whole draft thing, right? Forgetting the fact that only men are.
I know. I knew that was coming next. We've had that debate.
To sign up for selective service. At this point, you're like, hey, you're 18. You signed up for the draft.
I think women should have to do it. Look, I think men and women both should do it at this point. I'd have no problem fighting beside a woman. I'd have zero problems fighting beside a woman.
Women today say they're all independent, strong, and all right.
You got it.
Personally, the government would have to drag me out of my house kicking and screaming to get me to join in a draft. They would have to drag me out kicking. I'm not letting a tyrannical government forcing me to fight for a war.
Already in there just in case
I know it is, but there will be I'm just letting you know there will be a bullet in my foot the minute they announce it. There will be.
I think the first wave is 18 to 24 will be the first wave that goes. Yeah,
there will.
Women want equality.
I think you want to talk about a tyrannical government. I think a government forcing you to fight is as tyrannical as it can become.
Well, I think draft is only underneath severe circumstances.
It'd have to be another world war.
I'm just saying, women today want equality. Give it to them then. Sign up. Right. Sign up to be selected too.
I see no reason why women can't. I have 2 daughters.
And then I don't want to hear the kicking and screaming and bitching, moaning, whining and crying because you wanted it. Did you not?
I also low key. I think that there shouldn't.
To quickly go backwards, and then I'll hop off for you guys to talk, because I was looking into what you guys were talking about in regards to Texas and you thinking it's becoming purple. But I went all the way back to throughout the gubernatorial elections through 2006. The Republican vote has only increased exponentially since that year over year of those elections. It was 39% in 2006, and it was almost 60% just last year. And as you look at each year moving forward, it's only increased since then. So this that Texas is becoming purple is not backed by any statistical fact anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think Texas is staying fairly red.
Here's what I think the overall problem.
Okay, just remember, Dogman said that in 5 years from now, you remember. Oh, remember that Dogman? Maybe he was right. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not gonna, we're just.
I guess you have to look at the Reddit.
I mean,
nothing wrong with speculation.
Bro, they've been saying this since 2000, and it's only increased since then.
Who said? I didn't say what. First of all, I didn't say that in 2000.
No,
I'm saying
Democrats.
In
Democrats have been saying since the early 2000s.
This is fucking insane,
I'm not saying
by the way.
First of all,
These
I never
people
said
are
you.
insane, bro.
Democrats have been saying that Texas is going to turn blue since early 2000s. It's only increased.
Yeah, I said
Republican census.
So that's
now, Taco, I can give you the whole popular vote thing as long as you give me one thing, and that's the abolition of the bipartisan system.
Oh yeah, I don't think we should have a two-party system at all. I think it's it's the worst idea. It's the worst idea for any country to ever have.
Popular vote would work.
Absolutely.
Because at that point,
let's swing back to borders. That's what I really wanted to come in here for.
Wait. I want to before we move off before we move off this, I want to run two other ideas by you and see what you guys think about them. Because like I personally believe like a lot of conservatives and like I'm more left leaning. I think a lot of us have a lot more in common than we think we do. We just fall into the trap of like
I am. I lean left. I'm a Democrat, just so you know. But I'm a centrist.
But what I wanted to ask is, what would you feel about making it so that every version of office, senator, governor, president, they all had 1 6-year term and they could not run for re-election?
No, that's too short.
I don't think so, because if we look at a presidency, no, but here's the thing: if we look at it like the presidency specifically, right now, a president spends his first 2 years in office working, and then his next 2 campaigning for his next year in office. So I think if we just give them 1 6-year term, they can't spend time when they're in office. They have to be in office, either that or they have to have a gap period before they can run for re-election. I think they shouldn't spend the final 2 years of their term running for office again. I think it's just nonsense to me.
I'd have no problem doing a 6-year term, but I think they should be allowed to run twice.
I don't know.
Because we even allow president, and the reason why I say, I'll tell you why. So the reason why I say that is purely because of what you just said. The reason why we allow presidents to do 2 terms is so that we get 6 actual years of a president. Because when he doesn't run the second time, those 4 years are solid years. And you're right. There's the first 2 years. There's a 2-year gap where he has to make sure he gets reelected. And then he has 4 years to actually do what he wants because he doesn't have to worry about being reelected.
Right.
So that's what I would say. I could go with like a 12-year, 2 6-year terms for these guys. I'm not saying the president,
honestly.
Well, I just think if we're gonna have, even if we kept a 4-year term, I think there should always be a gap. Like you can't run the 4 years directly after, but you can run again.
Yeah, but nothing would get done. That's my point. Everything would be changed every 4 years.
Well, then that's why I said 6.
There would be a new direction.
That's why I said 6.
Honestly,
you disagreed with that.
This is my hot take that nobody has any sort of support for. I think that in any type of office, if the people just like the job that person is doing, they should be able to run for that office as many times as they want.
Yeah, I worry that would get us into what we fought to get away from in the 1700s. I agree. I think there should be no lobbying on either side. I don't think there should be any lobbying on either side. I think it's ridiculous that we let people buy policies.
And they made $14,000 the year before they're in office, and in 2 years they've got $14 million in their bank account.
Oh, wait, that's
not how government's supposed to work.
So that's why I think if you are running for office, you should have to live in the district that you're campaigning over, and I think that you should have to live in government housing. I think you should not be able to buy or purchase property while you're in office. And then I think that you should only be able to make a certain amount on every year. And I don't know if we would make that like the average like amount made in that district, but I think this would weed out people who are going into politics for money. And so the people that actually care would go into politics, not the people who want to make a quick buck.
What I think about the whole presidency at this point is like, if there's a minimum age requirement for the presidency, I also think there should be a maximum age limit requirement.
I agree. I think 65.
For the presidency.
I think retirement age.
That only because when they first started this, they didn't know people were going to be living into the 80s. You're right.
I fully agree with that.
I mean, I don't want
200 years ago, people weren't living until they were 80, 90 years old.
Listen, I don't like Trump or Biden, but they're both old as shit. Like
Right.
they're both
Right.
ancient.
I think they should both,
Yeah.
at this point, I think they should both just walk away.
I agree.
For a couple of reasons. They're both extremely old, which I hate to say it that way, but they both have
they
tons
are
of
old.
baggage.
They're not
They both have
extremely
tons
Well,
of baggage.
look at you being a xenophobe and everything. You
They're
just
old
don't
as
like
fuck.
those people being that high.
Listen,
high in
I
age.
love
No,
Bernie, but
I
I think Bernie is a little too old at this point. I love the man.
yeah,
I
I
just
would
think
agree.
he's too
Bernie's
old.
Bernie doesn't just look old; he is old.
Right. I mean,
But
come on. Biden is our president, right? But I mean, come on. Don't you think age is starting to catch up with them a little bit?
Well,
Just
I mean,
And
possible.
health.
I mean, that's the whole
possible.
thing. I think the presidency right now, we're in this weird instance where like even when Trump was in office, the president doesn't do much of anything. His cabinet does the bulk of the work. The president is usually there for like foreign stuff, and to be like the commander in chief of the army. But as far as like running the country, his cabinet does that. He doesn't really do much of anything in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think we should. I do
that-
agree. We should have some younger faces run, like being the face to meet
I'm
foreign.
just gonna say this right now. If Tulsi Gabbard ran for the presidency, I would vote for her.
Tulsi?
I would. Yeah, Tulsi. Yeah, I'd vote for her. I like her platform.
We're talking about,
I like
I'd
her
vote for Katie
policies.
Porter if she ran for president at this point.
I'd vote for
and
Katie
she-
Porter.
and she-
Katie
and she-
Porter is my favorite person in office in any regard
Me
right
too.
now. She's the only one
Me
that she
too.
doesn't give up. She'll fucking go
I
after
follow her on
everybody.
everything. I think she's the type of people we need in government.
Well,
She
not
calls
enough
people on it. She brings in the dry erase. Let me explain it to you because you got a PhD and you don't seem to answer the question. Here we go. Now answer that. It's like, and it makes it easy for the American people to digest what she's trying to do. She talks in layman terms instead of trying to hide everything and mask everything.
Well, this is my
real
issue with
politician.
political theater, right? Like socially, there may be a lot we all disagree on, like socially, right? But when it comes to politics, your average American citizen, Republican and Democrat, are going to have way more in common than you think they do. It's just the political theater of the parties, the Republican and Democrat parties, that are the ones at odds, like, right? Like,
and that's why I said abolish the bipartisan system. Force everybody to vote on policy instead of party.
I agree. I think all major policies should the people should like the abortion. I think we should just put it on a ballot. And and even if we have to put certain things on a ballot every year, right? I think that would be fine. If certain things like abortion go on a ballot every 5 years, every 10 years, whatever it be, and whatever the people decide they want to do is what the people do.
Yeah.
And I mean like if we simply just like I said, abolish the bipartisan system and force people to critically think about their candidates, at that point, America would be like, oh, you got me fucked up. You're making me think. Yeah, I'm making you think. I mean, what the hell, man?
No.
I think you should also have to explain. You should have to explain with receipts every promise you made that you didn't get done. Every single politician.
With receipts. Yeah, it's like you better bring them receipts to all of us right now on CNN, freaking Fox News, and every other outlet.
Like I don't like Biden. I don't like Biden. I don't like Trump. But Trump promised Mexico would pay for the wall, and they didn't. Bring me the receipts. Tell me exactly why they did not pay, and why that promise didn't go through. Because I think this would stop people from making false promises. Because that's what half of politics is. I'm going to promise outlandish stuff that is obviously impossible.
Now, you know how I would word things if I was running for presidency, right? If I was running for president right now, night 2024, if I were to be like, I wouldn't be making you promises. I'd be like, you know what? I will do everything in my power to ensure this happens. I will do everything in my power to ensure this happens. That way,
that's such a politician answer. That's such a politician answer.
No, but let's face it, they lie and make promises all the time that they have no intentions of ever following through on. Wouldn't you say?
My only promise would be that I would give my best effort in order to change these systems. Not that I would actually do it.
Well, I think it just depends. Like I said, I think it just depends on like the policies we're looking at. Like part of me even goes, why are we voting for people and why aren't we voting for policies more? You know what I mean? Like we're hedging our bets that like this one person is going to do what we want when we should be really looking what's the platform of the party they're running for. Like that to me, like I guess we're voting for them so they can choose cabinet members, but it's still just like it feels like we're never actually voting on the things we want to happen.
And not only that, think about it like this, right? When somebody makes a promise, like like say Trump said, I'm gonna build the wall and Mexico's gonna pay for it. That's a dumb promise to make, because you can't predict how another country is going to operate on
that was the nail in the
Right.
coffin for me. Like I've never been a fan of Trump. I disagree with a lot of the policies that his administration put into place. But how are you going to promise another
Mexico
country is
came
going
out
to
and
build?
said, we are definitely not paying for it. He said, oh yeah, I'll get them to
They
pay
said
for
it
it.
a week later.
They weren't gonna pay
It was
for
like a week. Mexico called him up like, bestie, we're not paying for your wall.
Yeah, that's not happening, right?
It's like, hey, listen here, my guy. I know that
Personally,
you're
I think the
red
wall
hot,
should
and
be
I don't
built in
wanna
the
make you
north,
look
and we
like
should
an
keep out
idiot.
them damn dirty Canucks.
Actually,
That's what
we
I
should
think.
not waste it. First of all, here's the thing: we
Canucks.
should not waste one more penny on building a wall or a fence, and I'm going to tell you why.
I mean, I agree.
Walls and fences do not stop anything, right? They
Well,
slow things. Wait. They slow things
Guys, I'm
down.
joking. Relax.
And I'll give you an example.
You
You
know
want
I
to know
love
why
my
the wall
Canadian
of China worked?
baddies. You know I
Because
would
it
move to
slowed
you
them
if I
down
could.
long enough so they could unalive all those people. So unless we're going to start unaliving people at the border, a fence and a wall is not going to stop anything. You know
Well,
that new
especially one
wall
you can walk
that Trump
through.
built? They figured out how to climb that thing in 20 seconds. That's how long
hey,
it took them.
I'm just saying, if I was building that wall, it would be like 100 feet high, like 50 feet wide, and it would be
Where you
pure
gonna get the money for that? We
I know.
can't
What kind of
even
money are we
we
spending
can't even
slow
afford to
people
give
down?
all of our
Unless we
students
put
in
turrets
schools
on the top of that
lunch.
wall, we're not stopping anything.
It's like we'll do like automated turrets on top of the
Right.
wall.
I mean, right. Are
With,
you aware of the fact? Wait.
thermal
The southern
recognition.
border, right? The southern border has almost 2,000 miles of land. Could you imagine the undertaking it would be? And that doesn't even include water. That's just the land where people could walk into America. That's almost 2,000 miles.
All right, I want to run some policy ideas by you, and you guys tell me if you'd vote for me. I think we should make all school lunch for kids free.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, cool. I think that we should. Let me think. What would be some other ones that might somebody else name a policy? I like hearing ideas of policies from other people.
Well, I would say that in America, no one should be homeless.
I think because
housing first policy.
I do
housing policy.
Yeah, I do think that right now we live in a country where I think the last time I checked, there are still more homes than there are homeless people. I think we could figure out a way. I just don't know. I don't know what all of the ins and outs of it would be, but I do think there are a lot of people that are homeless via circumstance, and I think it's just kind of like I was homeless for a couple of months just because I was in between places. Like I just couldn't move into a place yet, so I was like homeless for a couple of months. I think. Yeah.
I don't agree. Homeless people are all criminals, drug addicts, and everything.
I think it's like 15 or 25 minutes, but there's a video of like how Finland solved their homelessness problem.
I mean, we could solve it. We just choose not to. Right. You have to realize we, as America, we choose not to resolve issues that we have in this country. There's zero reason for a lot of these things except for corruption, greed, that type of stuff. I mean, that's just the bottom line.
Well, I mean, I'm very much people over profits.
We're the only country in the world where we have starvation and obesity. Think about that.
Wait, that was funny. That was low-key.
Yeah,
that was low-key. It's low-key kind of funny though. I've never thought about that. Right? That's low-key kind of funny.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at food. Look at food deserts. I mean, what is it? It's like 26 million Americans suffer from food deserts, where they're not in walking distance of like fresh food, so they have to eat absolute garbage. Like, just build a grocery store, man.
Right. And think about it. You go. Look, I mean, that's a whole other thing. You can go into neighborhoods where there's a liquor store in every corner, but to go and buy yourself some fresh fruit or vegetables in the store, it's hard to come by.
All right, here's one policy that I think needs attention. Increase the training requirements for police officers from a couple of months to like maybe 2 to 4 years.
I think well, so I'm very much against, like, we don't have to talk about it, but I'm for the abolishment of police. I know it's a crazy talking point. That's just where I'm at.
That would never work.
I understand
we would never abolish the police, only for the simple reason that, well, I'll say this. If we abolish the police, all that's going to do is usher in the government what they want, their own national federal police force. And then none of us
Exactly.
will have a say, and we'll all be pissed off about the fact of that. And there's nothing we can do about it because it's
I
going to be
agree.
the government's
Well,
fault.
what
It'll
about the
basically
sheriff's
be
department?
martial law without
I
martial law.
actually think sheriffs are worse. Like, even if we're not, if we're going on like how do we reform police, I think sheriffs are actually worse because sheriffs tend to have less oversight than police do. I have a lot of like studies on it that I can show you guys, but like it's kind of crazy how much corruption are in like local sheriff's offices. There was one that I was reading about.
Well, I can understand why you might say that because sheriffs, they do it by the county, their
Yeah.
county.
And there was one
the
county
local towns
where
and
a
cities. So you have a little more. This is what we want done in our city.
there was
But I don't know
I'll
about
try to see if I can pull it
Look,
up, but I
I'm
was
not gonna
reading about
say
a
that
county.
corruption runs rampant in the police department because I got to tell you, I think that we have a good portion of police officers that are truly trying to do the best they can, and now there's cameras everywhere, and every little mistake is blown out of proportion. But at the same time,
Right.
we have cops that think that they can use someone's head as a pinata or a football, and think
Yeah, I think we need
we gotta
way
we
more.
gotta
I think
rein
we need
in
a
we gotta
lot more
rein in
cameras.
this violence. We have
And-
to
and
rein
that's
in
why-
violence.
Could you
that's why
imagine?
I
Could you
think
imagine
we
this
should
last
increase
one if there were no cameras present? Like if that street camera even wasn't there, I worry what would have
Right.
happened with like the Tyree
No.
Nichols thing.
Well, you heard
Like,
what happened in San Francisco, right? It was either yesterday or the day before. The guy that was in the wheelchair that they shot and unalived him.
yeah, I
So a
did
guy
see
who
about
was in a
that.
wheelchair had a knife. I guess
I mean,
hopped out of the wheelchair, stabbed somebody, unalived him. The police showed up. The guy was in the wheelchair. He jumped out of the wheelchair he doesn't have any legs, and he's trying to run away on his
double
on his-
amputee.
Yeah, the double amputee. Thank you. And they shot him several times in the back, and they could have easily detained the guy. Easily detained him. And it's
Now-
that happened
Imagine
in
claiming,
California. a blue
claiming
state.
you fear for your life from a dude that is a double amputee.
Well, no, you can see the officers in the video walking while this guy's trying to run on his his amputated legs. Like, he was like a small person, and he's trying to run as fast as he can, and they're walking behind him.
I haven't watched the
And they
video
still
yet.
decided, you can you can just look it up, double amputee cops.
Yeah, I think
all
we
that
need.
stuff.
I think even
And
like
so we need better education. We need to make sure these officers realize that when they're enforcing the law, they are not to break the law to enforce the law. Otherwise, they're no better or different.
and that goes back down into their qualified immunity at that point, where they're allowed to break
I agree.
a few laws in order to effectively enforce it, and that seems hypocritical to
Right.
me.
yeah, I think what Knight said before. I think what Knight said before. You need a minimum.
One thing
I
I should say about this is that while these are tragic instances that should not happen,
Right.
are y'all familiar with what a frequency illusion is?
Frequency.
Yeah,
where they try to make it seem like it's more than it is.
Yeah, basically rare instances that occur in the United States are blasted all over the media, and all of a sudden
Right.
the population believes it's a common problem.
Right.
And I think the frequency illusion at this point, where we look at these rare instances, what we need to see in these rare instances is that, hey, clarification, this is a rare occurrence. Okay, these people will be held accountable to their actions. This is an individual accountability issue.
Right.
They will be prosecuted, but it is important to note that this is still a rare occurrence.
I actually, for me, that doesn't fit with me for like police violence, because I think even one instance is too many. Like,
Well,
I
here's
think
the
you're
thing.
right. And
I would
believe-
say there's different
I'm
levels
with
of
you.
violence as well. You have to realize, I'm sure there's plenty of officers that have done, bad things, and unless it results in a severe attack
I'm
or
hungry as
unaliving,
fuck, bro.
we don't hear about
I just
it.
got real hungry out of
I
nowhere.
mean, because here, I think those guys weren't there to unalive that kid in Tennessee. I think they were there to give him a good, a nice ass whooping, and it got out of hand, and that's it. Because if they would have hurt him, we never would have heard about it. Had they beat him a bit, and I mean, they probably would have uncuffed him and sent him on his way, we never would have heard about it.
Well, right, and the thing is that we have literally millions of law enforcement interactions a day, literal millions of law enforcement interactions a day. All right, and for the media to be like, well, you guys need to know this, but hey, this happens a lot more often than the media is a freaking toxic problem in America right now.
Right. But I mean, come on, with more people with cameras and videotaping, I mean, even I see it on social media everywhere where you can see these cops are definitely stepping over lines.
Yeah, First Amendment auditors.
Well, yeah, but not even that. I mean, I watch a lot of these because I like to watch the traffic stops and why they're stopping people and see, because I think a lot of cops still profile, even though it's illegal for them to do so. And
I have a
they
study
will do
with proof
things
of
and
that if
try
you
to
ever want
make
to see
stuff
it.
up, and you've got cameras all over, so and then you see them change their tune halfway through the incident when the guy says, I got cameras on all this.
Dogman, have you heard of the Veil of Darkness study?
No, actually, no, I haven't.
So it was, I don't know if it was Stanford or Harvard.
Was
I have to
like
pull it back up.
Something?
No, they basically analyzed like 90 million traffic stops in the US and found that during the daytime, black drivers are pulled over at a higher rate than white drivers. And then at nighttime, that rate tends to even out because the cops can't see the face of the person driving anymore. In places like California, it's as high as like with a disparity as high as like 33-1.
Wow.
I'll pull it up so I can tell you exactly who did this. It was a college in compilation with like a statistic company. Let me just see if I can find it. I have it somewhere.
So these are the type of things we need to get resolved.
But that's also, like I said, by increasing the training requirements of police officers.
Sure. And maybe expanding the department to have different types of officers that deal with different types of instances, or they're paired up. Because I got to tell you, a lot of these things you see when you look at these videos, you go, man, that person's got some mental illness going on. And an officer, in all fairness, he's not ready or equipped to deal with that. As an officer, he's there just to make sure everyone's safe and diffused.
We need to put a pin in this because I need to get my laptop, because I actually made a search about that and pulled up statistics from another country about how ill-equipped all police officers are.
I wouldn't even say ill-equipped. I think in a lot of instances they're overworked.
You mean about mental illness or just in general?
Hold on, I'll see if
there was a study that studied three, and I really wish they would like do this study in like multiple municipalities, but it studied 3 of them, St. Louis, New Orleans, and I want to say Baltimore. And they found that in those 3 municipalities, cops only spent 4% of their year and they found that handling violent crime. All the rest of the year was doing other things. So I feel like they're like, in a lot of instances, they're overworked. And like, I think they would be much better handling these instances if they weren't also going over to Miss Johnson's to get a cat out of a tree. They weren't also dealing with mental health problems. They weren't also going to, like, if they had focused on one thing, it'd be a little.
So
I also heard a lot of these things start out as domestic violence incidents that they then have to try to diffuse and keep everybody happy. I mean, listen, these cops are not there to be therapists for people. They're just not.
No, they're not. But then again, they should have some sort of relevant psychological type therapy in order to.
Well, that's why I said they should expand the department and have people in particular that can be called upon to go with an officer so that they're more equipped to deal with the situations they're being pushed into.
Found it. All right. So here, because F. Paul knows I'm also a Dutch citizen as well, so I use the Dutch as a reference. The Dutch news.nl, police struggle to deal with people with psychiatric problems. 3 in 4 police officers do not know how to cope with people with psychiatric problems and need more training and backup from mental health services, a survey by Investigative Journalism platform. Confrontations between officers and disturbed or confused people often escalate and end in violence, occasionally leading to serious physical harm or death. Some 16 people unalived between 2016 and 2019, either through self-harm or direct police action, according to figures from anti-police violence campaigners.
It's crazy how much they let my conservative alter ego, or not conservative alter ego, but let the account that's not me stay in. Like, they don't kick me as quickly. That's pretty fucking wild.